When the Battle of Bosworth came to an end, Richard III was found dead. His enemy, Henry Tudor, immediately declared himself king, and Richard's body was taken off to the town of Leicester and put on display for the whole town to see. According to records, he was buried unceremoniously beneath the Greyfriars Church, and a monument was eventually placed above his grave. But 40 years later, Henry VIII began taking down the Catholic Church, and in just 5 years, every church across the country was shut down, and many were demolished, including Greyfriars. The land where it once stood was eventually bought by the mayor of Leicester, and a mansion was built on top of the site. Although the monument had been destroyed, the mayor knew exactly where Richard was located, and so he placed his own monument to mark the spot. But in 1611, a story was published that would completely alter the course of this mystery. Written by historian John Speed, it stated that when the church was demolished, Richard's body had been taken out by an angry mob and buried under the nearby Bow Bridge. Although it wasn't clear where this story came from, people started to believe it, and over time, it became the truth. By the 1800s, everyone knew this story, and eventually, a plaque was placed next to the bridge to mark the spot of Richard's burial. A few years later, a skeleton was found in the river, and people believed they had actually found the body of Richard III. By the 21st century, the actual whereabouts of the king were a complete mystery. The mayor's mansion that once marked his grave was long gone, and the original Greyfriars Church was now buried under several layers of buildings. But in the early 2000s, members of the Richard III Society started looking for him. Thanks to modern technology, they were able to recreate Richard's burial using InVideo AI. Just kidding. InVideo AI, today's sponsor, is a tool that lets you turn your ideas into full-length videos, no matter your skill level. Unlike most video tools which only solve part of the video creation process, InVideo puts you in the director's seat and does all the heavy lifting. Just focus on your vision and type in the prompt. InVideo will create the first draft of your video in just a few minutes. After that, you can fine-tune the video using edit commands. Its capabilities are endless, and you can even get it to clone your voice and do the narration for you. With InVideo as your creative partner, the possibilities are truly endless. You can try InVideo AI for free using the link in the description. This will save you hundreds of dollars that you would otherwise spend on editing, animating, and other production costs. In order to find Richard III, the search team had to go back through the history books and figure out what really happened after he was buried. They started looking into John Speed's story of Richard being buried under the bridge, and that's when they came across something really interesting. John had traveled to Leicester in 1611 to look for Richard's grave and to make a detailed map of the city. But when he got there, all he found was an overgrown field and no monument. The search team took a closer look at his map, and they realized that the Greyfriars Church had been drawn in the wrong location, and it had actually been drawn in the location of the Blackfriars Church. Speed had clearly gone to the wrong church, and that's why he didn't find a grave. If he had gone to the right place, he would have come across the mayor's mansion with a monument marking where Richard lay. Since he hadn't found a grave, he invented the story of Richard being buried under the bridge. This was most likely inspired by the real story of a local priest who actually was dug up and thrown in the river years before. All of this proved that Speed's story was actually false, and the team could focus their efforts on looking for the Greyfriars Church. But any evidence of the church had long since been covered by buildings, and so finding it would be a huge challenge. The earliest map that showed any detail was from 1741, and it showed the Greyfriars area, which at that point contained the mayor's mansion and the surrounding gardens. The monument that once marked Richard's grave would have stood somewhere in this area. By overlaying more modern maps, it showed that a road was eventually built through the area, and today's buildings had been built on top of the gardens. By the 21st century, the Greyfriars area had been almost completely covered by buildings.
Well, that is very interesting, but the show must go on.